goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creators, where we sit down often with special guests and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so you can learn from us and grow your wedding business. And who are we? Well, I am Simon, and this is Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, Heart, and together with all the powers combined, he is Captain Planet. Together we are Cinemate Films, two Scottish-based wedding filmmakers who love nothing more than drinking coffee, sometimes beer, and talking shop with others in the wedding industry. This episode is of course sponsored by Pick Time. Thank you for that, but I'll get onto that later in the show. Greg, who are we talking to today?
We are talking to Citlalli Rico. Hello, Citla. How are you?
Hello.
Hey guys, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are very happy to have you here. I think it's going to be a really good time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So yes, whereabout are you coming from? Where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Cancun, Mexico. I'm from Mexico City, but I've been living here for over 30 years, so it's been a while.
Excellent. Let's just get the introduction right off the bat, because in the last podcast we left it for a good half an hour before we got our guests to introduce themselves. So, Citla, tell us about yourself and what you do for those who haven't heard of you yet.
Well, I've been a wedding photographer for almost 20 years now, so it's been quite a while. And I do shoot mostly weddings, but I also shoot a lot of families because of after 20 years and living in a destination place, a lot of people come back with their families for vacation. So they started hiring me for that, and now it's a very important part of my business. And at the beginning, I didn't love family shooting, but now I'm just enjoying it more. Like the best part of that, it was just meeting or seeing the people and meeting the little people they created. That was lovely. And now I just love it almost as much as weddings when I shoot family photos.
Man. So, 20 years, that's a good shift.
Yeah.
What's like, how has the industry changed from all those years ago? Was that even like, were you doing spot color back then? Like what was happening?
Yes, we did.
Oh no.
I know, it's awful. We had no idea what we were doing at the beginning. I promise, like it was already out of trend, and we were still like, oh, this is fun and it's interesting and it's gonna look pretty cool, and our clients are gonna love it. So yes, we did a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have done, and I regret it, but it's okay. It's part of the journey. It's changed so much, you guys. It's like it's keeping us, all of us, on our toes, because the market changes, the industry changes. We have obviously so many more photographers, and I don't know, it's a little bit more challenging. Everybody's gonna say that their city is challenging, but when you are in a destination place, everybody wants to shoot there. You know, when someone says, "Hey, I'm getting married in Cancun or Riviera Maya," you will see thousands of photographers raising their hands, even if they're not nearly close, just because they want to come here. So they're willing to travel. And I get it. You know, I'm not even mad, because I understand that we all want to, like, we're seeking for new adventures and new places to shoot. But that's part of the challenge of living here. So yes, it's changed so much in 20 years. I've seen it all, let's say.
Yeah, I suppose in that regard, there's a similarity, because Scotland is also a destination that people just love to, who wants to shoot in a moment? Yep, absolutely. You'll travel over.
Yeah.
And they're,
people queuing up to shoot in the sky.
Absolutely. My goodness.
I'm sure like you have a lot of people from Europe traveling, right? All over Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
That's right. They're crossing over the border. They're stealing our jobs. So what's like 20 years ago, that if you can remember back, and I'm not saying that it's that long ago. 20 years isn't
We're
that
not,
long.
we're not far behind.
I
We're
know,
14 years.
We're not that far behind. I'm sorry, I'm making you feel old there. But if you can remember back, like what was that first motivation to even pick up a camera in the first place? Like, what was it about photography that drew your attention?
It's super funny because my motivation was money, not starving. That was a motivation. After university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was already working, but I didn't love my jobs. I had different ones in different media because my major was in communication. Yep. So I worked in radio and newspapers and TV for a long time. And I really didn't love it. So a friend of mine, I moved back to Cancun because I went abroad for university. So when I moved back, a dear friend of mine invited me to work for her in her photography studio for weddings. And I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to do that. Like that's the lowest of the lowest. Like becoming a wedding photographer for all my teachers in university was like, they will tell you if you are not doing well in life, you will end up as a wedding photographer. That's what they were telling us. So I was like, oh no, I cannot become a wedding photographer. So when people, like I actually started because I had no job. But when people ask me, I'd rather say I was unemployed than saying that I was a wedding photographer.
Oh, that's so sad. No.
No, it's so funny because now I'm super proud of it. But at the beginning, I was like, oh no, I don't want to become one. And even here, like, I don't know in your country, guys, but here, when you say that you're a photographer, it's kind of cool. But when you say that you're a wedding photographer, it's not that much. And I don't care. You know, like now I'm super proud and I love our industry and all the things that we do. And I know our value and how skilled we have to be a wedding photographer. But back then was very interesting because for me it was like, no, I don't want to do that. And now 20 years later, here we are.
Yeah. I feel like as filmmakers, we can also relate to that because we moved so quickly away from the name videographer. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
I'll still say when people ask me what I do, I'm like, oh, I'm a wedding filmmaker. Just because it makes me feel better, which is mad.
I love it. But it's whatever makes you feel better, you know, like it's so funny, but it's true. It's just a nicer way to say it maybe. But yeah, I get it. Totally get it. Yeah, because when I introduce myself, I don't say I'm a wedding photographer right away. Even though after 20 years and after all the things that I just said, I still say I'm a photographer, which is true because I am, right? But I don't put the wedding. I just wait for the conversation to develop.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like content creators learned that straight away. They were like, I don't want to be just a person with a phone or an iPhone or whatever it is. Is it? Well, you can use other phone like Samsung. Yeah. I don't know what technology you use, content creators. I'm sorry, just any type of phone. You don't want to be just a phone, a person with a phone. You want to be a content creator. So they knew it right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They needed a cool name to start.
They needed a cool name, and they essentially just picked a name which is just exactly what we all are anyway. We're video people, we're photographers, we make content. That's what we do. Yeah. So they've confused everyone. They're like, wait, what?
No, it's true. Because now, I don't know if that happens there too, but here now there's like a huge trend of hiring a content creator for your wedding, which is kind of challenging for all the teams because now you have an extra or two more people trying to get like the best out of the angles and things. But it is a little bit confusing because people don't realize that it's completely different than actually video. I think it's hitting you guys more than photo because for photography, it's a little bit easier to understand the difference. But for them, it's like, well, they're going to be like capturing videos, so I don't need a videographer anymore. So that's what my friends here are complaining about.
Yeah. It's one of those transitions in the industry, isn't it? Like we've seen a lot of them over our 14 years. And this is just another one. It's like there's these new people that exist in the industry that we have to try and work alongside. And yeah, it's just different.
More people coming over here, taking our jobs. Oh my God. Then we're going to have no jobs. Oh my God. Jesus.
It's a great impersonation.
Oh,
No, but
God.
also, I mean, it's great because a lot of the same people are just transitioning to becoming content creators on weddings. But I don't know, it's just, I think it's more about educating clients so they understand the difference between our job and someone else's.
Yeah. And you can't blame anyone for being confused if they are, because usually this is their first time having a wedding. So what are all these people? Like, whoever hires a video person for something that isn't their wedding. It's not an everyday thing. So you're right. We just have to keep educating and having
But
some
you know
understanding.
what also I've noticed is that obviously for you guys, it's what you have to show. It has to be in a very short vertical format to reach more people. So when you see the content creators that are doing a really good job, it's not very different, that little product that you're delivering. And I'm just saying little because it's short, but it doesn't mean that doesn't require a ton of effort and hours. And so that's why it's also very confusing for clients. It's like, what's the difference between what I'm receiving from them and from them, right? So it's going to be interesting, this transition too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, it's funny because there are like the words and even language, the words that we use for certain things, their meanings change. So like a content creator doesn't really, like, we've put these invisible walls of expectations on content creators. Like, you're always going to shoot vertical. You're not going to capture sound. You're not going to shoot the full speeches, because otherwise you're just a video person. And it's like at some point the walls are going to just disappear. And so we all need to be aware that at some point the dam's going to burst and we're not going to know how to label ourselves. We're just going to be people at weddings with cameras. Yeah. And we don't know what we're doing. Anyway. What a strange tone this podcast has started out on.
I know, anyway. I'm sorry guys. I didn't mean to.
Fine. Also, by the way,
it's going to be good though. Everything is going to be okay.
Well, change is difficult, but change is fun. Like, new challenges always arise. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're a content creator, we love you. Like, there's no hate. Don't worry. Do not worry.
There's room for everyone.
Yeah. I bet you there's one photographer who'll be like, yeah, but not that content creator I work with on Saturday. Anyway. So yes, you are shooting now. You've been shooting for 20 years. How has your style changed over that 20 years? And how would you describe your style now?
Well, it hasn't changed that much because maybe the first year was very straightforward, and I had like a list of things that I had to shoot because I was working for a studio. So we all had to be very consistent, and I had no idea what a wedding was. I was 20 when I started, 20 something. So it was like, maybe I've been to a couple of weddings in my life, but I didn't know the language. I didn't know, also because all our clients are from the States and some other places where everybody speaks English. So I knew the words in Spanish, but I didn't know the words in English, right? So at the beginning it was very straightforward, and you knew what you had to say and how to direct the poses, and like, don't forget to take a photo of the rings and the kiss, and when the bride is walking down the aisle and things like that. So after a year of doing the same thing over and over again, because we used to shoot a lot of weddings. I was shooting 100 weddings per year back then. That was crazy.
Holy
because
shit.
Also, I know, it's also a little bit different because it's destination, so people will get married on Tuesday, same on Saturday. So that's why we were shooting so many weddings. And it was just me and my team because it was 5 teams at a time for that studio. So where were I forgot. COVID brain.
You got five. Yeah, you're shooting over 100 weddings a year.
No,
Five
that's
teams.
always distracting.
God.
Yeah, so after a year of doing the same thing over 100 times, you kind of get bored. It's like, it's like, okay, but I'm sure there's something else about this. So I started doing my research, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure we're not the only wedding photographers in the world, because that's how it felt. There was very few studios back then in the area, and we were all doing kind of the same thing. So I'm like, maybe there are other people doing wedding photographer out there. So I found an association, the WPJA, which is the Photojournalist Association for Wedding Photographers. And I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. It's like, you don't have to be directing absolutely everything. This is fun, and people are getting amazing photos that they don't look like you're in a wedding. It's more like between street photography and reportage. And so I'm like, I'm in. I want to do this. So I started doing more research and finding like great photographers that were doing that. And I just started learning from them right away. I think my first workshop was in 2008 or 2007. And from there, I just kept going that route, just more documentary. And I love creative portraits. I love creating those. But that will take 5% of the wedding time. The rest is just document things the way they happen. So that's kind of the style that it's been on our portfolio for 15 years.
Yeah. And where are you now in terms of how many you aim to shoot a year?
I'm sorry, how many? I'm shooting 12, 15 weddings per year now.
But it was
a little bit less, like 10%. No, but I started like it was progressively slowing down, because it was 100, and then 80, and then from 80 to 75, and then until I'm now. I hope I don't go less than that, because I need those 12, 15 weddings. But it's been also necessary. Obviously, the prices increased, but also I just had no life back then, because I was editing everything too. So it's 100 weddings plus editing.
Yeah,
that's blowing my mind. By the way,
I know,
honestly.
Me too. Yeah.
What? Yeah. And then obviously, like AI, none of that existed.
No. We have the first few versions of Lightroom when I started. Like maybe the first one. So, and it was awful. It was so bad. But at least we had something. Yeah, I used Camera Raw for a while. The bridge version of I used that for like a year or more. So, yeah.
So after hundreds and hundreds of weddings and the years of working, how do you stay inspired with weddings then? Like, you're shooting a much more manageable number, but how do you stay inspired and excited to go and shoot the next wedding?
Well, I think the great advantage of doing documentary photography is people and their relationships what inspires you. So, and that never changes. It's like, because it's always it's always going to be different. Because if you're inspired by the location, you're kind of screwed, because for us, it's the same venues over and over again. So, and if you're inspired by light, it could be a day where it's super cloudy and you don't have harsh light, or you don't have soft light, or and you're screwed too. So when you're focusing on people and how they react and how they interact and how they enjoy or not enjoy the day, you will always be inspired. And I found that's why in 15 years, I felt burned out, but more because of traveling, because I was also teaching. I'm teaching way less now. But the burnout wasn't because I was done with weddings. I think those situations happen when you have like a difficult client, and it fortunately has just happened a couple of times in 20 years for us. But if it was constant, I would be really hard. I don't think I could handle that. I hate conflict, and I don't like feeling, like that stress when someone is like being or complaining, or not, it doesn't have to be difficult, but it's like when you didn't do a good job educating them on your style or how or the expectations. So I think that will be really hard for me. But fortunately, we've had the right clients. I think that has a lot to do with how we show our work. So whatever people are seeing is how they're, if it's resonating with them, that's the kind of people that we're getting. So
Yeah. Are you able to now like pick up on any what people like call red flags with particular potential clients, or do those kind of clients still elude you from time to time?
no, I do now. I think we are pretty good at it, and I wouldn't say that, and we don't take them because, of course, we need them. So we still do, but I take a lot of effort. I put a lot of effort beforehand to make sure that they know what they're gonna get. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple of I have a couple of Zoom calls with them. I have a pretty extensive questionnaire, so they tell me exactly what like sort of photos they're expecting, but I don't want a list. I'm just asking, okay, if you're gonna have certain guests that are not very I don't know, extrovert, they might be sitting in a corner the entire time, so I need to know they're very important for you so I can pay extra attention to them. Those sort of things are putting the responsibility on them, not on me anymore.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I found have been very easy. And when I've had, like, not so long ago, I had a bride that she's like, there's something that I'm not loving about the photos. And instead of panicking, I just jumped in a call with her for like right away. And it was something completely different. It had nothing to do with the photos, you know, like, so what I've found is that when you communicate immediately with them and they feel heard, and there are certain things that we can do to accommodate them, it's always easier to deal with these things instead of waiting a week to respond and just posting it on Facebook and telling all your friends that someone is being difficult with you. It's just addressing it right away. It's been the easiest.
Yeah. That's kind of refreshing, actually, because instead of people changing maybe how they interact with clients, they just tend to drop them, is the kind of go-to reaction I see. Like if they spot any red flags, they're very proud to say like, oh, I spotted this and I just left them. Sometimes, I mean, obviously without knowing the communication that they've had or what red flags they've had in the past, you know, sometimes I think, oh, would I have dropped them? I don't know. Sometimes
Well,
I think just communication is sometimes the better approach, even if it's just to learn.
Exactly. And definitely there are some clients that are not a right fit. And that will be like a disservice when you take them, because obviously you're not going to deliver what they're expecting, and you can get in trouble for that. But I think most of the time with communication, you can fix pretty much anything with a red flag client.
Yeah.
Unless it's something completely against your morals, you know, like for me, that's why like all of the things that we put out there are very loud, in a way that if someone is homophobic, I won't, you know, I won't work. And it's not because I don't want to work with you. It's because my sister is part of the LGBTQ community, so I don't want her to be in a situation where she's feeling in a certain way. So I think it's just a matter of being very clear with your work. I think that's the first kind of gate for people to know if they want to work with you or not.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that, because I recently had an experience where a client's viewpoint came out early on in the day, and I vehemently disagreed with their stance, and it could have undermined the whole day if I'd let it. And it was quite an interesting time. Obviously, I didn't tell you this, but it was always on my head the whole day that in a different situation, this client would feel very different about me than right now. And yeah, it kind of just ever so slightly tainted working with the couple. On everything else, though, they were loving it. They were loving us. They were having a great time. They wanted us to party. It was so weird. It was just right early in the morning, just even before we got the cameras out. He said something, and I'm like, oh, that was so disappointing.
But did you say something back?
No.
Did you? No, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you cannot. It's a wedding day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you didn't, if it's something that it's a deal breaker for you and you catch it beforehand, yes. But if it's on the wedding day, you're kind of screwed.
no.
It's like,
I would never
Yeah.
put myself in front of someone else's wedding. I would just have to swallow my pride and just.
Yeah, I know. Good job.
But it didn't affect my performance at all. I was on great form.
Yeah.
It was good.
Good.
Greg, wasn't I, Greg?
I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
Stop it, but thank you.
You've mentioned we a couple of times. So who's in your team? Like who do you work with?
Yeah, my we is my sister. Yeah, we've been shooting together all this time, almost 20 years. Yeah. And normally, even if she's already booked because she has her own business, I always bring someone else, but most of the time is with her.
Yeah.
Most of the
is that Tamara?
Yeah, that's Tamara.
Ah, right. Excellent. Okay. And how is she just a second shooter for you, or do you have specific roles on a wedding day, or like how do you guys operate?
We do have a specific roles. Like we do, like just at certain times we're splitting, so we're working as first cameras, and then when we work together, we do like. I am a little bit of a control freak, so I don't let myself just go and wander and enjoy the ceremony, for example. So I just, when I have an idea, I'm very specific with her and tell her, okay, I need you to go and shoot this, that it's really fun and I'm going to miss it because I cannot get over it. So she's the one that she gets to be more free. And she's amazing at that. She's amazing at finding like really cool spots and things where she can explore more the creativity that I don't let myself do. And so when I see something that I want to do, but I don't want to let the bride and groom or the groom and groom or the bride and bride just being on them, alone, because our ceremonies are super short, are sometimes 8 minutes. So I cannot.
Wow.
Just let them be. Yeah, that's why I have to let them stop there. So I just tell her, like, please go and shoot with this lens from this angle and do this. So we do have a specific. So I have 3 cats, and they're going to be part of the podcast.
That's fine. Bring them on.
And well, they're already here. So yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, we've been shooting 700 weddings together, so we already know what we have to do. Yeah. And as she's already, she has her own business and she shoots her own weddings. Ben, say hi or shut up. Okay. Say hi. Hi.
Hello.
She has her. I mean, her style is very similar. But she sees life completely different. So that's why it's so cool shooting with her, because I know that she's going to get amazing images every single time. So it's like, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when we shoot together and I'm downloading the photos, I'm like, oh, shoot, I wish I had taken that photo. I mean, I'm glad she got it, but I wish it was mine.
Yeah. Sometimes, in fact, actually, it happened the other day when I have this image of, I think, Father of the Bride. Anyway, Father of the Bride. And I had, on the day I had decided not to take the image, I just followed the bride and groom out. But Greg was like, oh, pass me the camera. And he got the shot that I wanted to get. And it annoyed me that I decided not to just I could have caught up with the bride and groom. They were just, doing their own thing. I could have got that shot.
I got
Oh.
You got it. And I'll never
Same wavelength.
Yeah. So obviously you don't shoot 600 weddings anymore. You're on a healthy number of weddings, like a mindset healthy number of weddings. Is balancing your relationships and stuff, is it way simpler now that you've reduced that amount of workload in your life, or do you still struggle from time to time?
No, I mean, I struggle because I think the pandemic showed us a ton of things that we were doing wrong. And one of the things for me was my mental health. I didn't even consider it, I started going to therapy fortunately, before the pandemic. And that helped a little bit, but the rhythm I was following, it was unsustainable. I just couldn't, I shouldn't have done that for so long. So I was shooting still a ton of weddings, and I was traveling so much for teaching, because every single person that will invite me to a conference, I will say, hey, of course, of course, I will be there. So I think 50% of the time I wasn't at home, and the other 50 I was here shooting and editing. So my life was a mess. So yes, my life is way easier now. I don't travel as much. I don't feel like getting on a plane anymore after all those flights and running around. And no, I don't. It was a lot of fun, and I met so many people in so many places that I don't regret it, but I know that my life needed a change. And fortunately, COVID said, it was not fortunate, the COVID, but the situation just to stop and slow down has helped me tremendously with my health, mental health too. And obviously being able to be with my parents more time, and I don't know, it's been better, definitely. Now I have pets. I didn't have pets my entire life because of that. Now I get to enjoy 3 kittens. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's been definitely better. And when I see friends that are like in a role of like just traveling and working, and I just tell them, please don't get there. Don't get there. You're going to regret it. Just try to find a balance or slow down a little bit, because it can be really hard on us.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like we've spoken to a few people who have been forced to change how they're doing stuff because they took things too far. And I'll always be pretty proud of us in the fact that we never let ourselves get there.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just lazy. Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, it's good. I'm glad. It's important that I think the main thing is just to pay attention to ourselves. We just kind of forget. I don't know if it happens to you guys at weddings, but it still happens to me, because when I'm in the zone, I'm kind of forgetting about everything else. But we forget to drink water. We forget to eat unless you're already starving. It's like you've been shooting maybe for 10 hours and you haven't gone to the bathroom, or so those sort of things, when you keep doing them over and over again in a long period, that will be really hard on yourself. So it's, you can be hustling as much as you want, but if you don't pay attention to yourself, that's when it's going to get really bad. And I feel like for me, it was like I was numb. I didn't feel anything anymore, just to keep going. So I wasn't, I didn't let my emotions out. I didn't let any sort of, if I was sick, I will just push through. I wouldn't rest. So that's when, it's definitely not what we're human beings made for. So it's important to just slow down, or at least pay attention to our needs.
Yeah, before it's too late and you were forced to.
Yes.
Actually, that being said, there was that time I got an injury back. I injured my back because I always I always used to carry a glide cam on my right arm, like a heavy glide cam, before gimbals, and pulled a muscle in my hip or back or something, and for like a good year, I was just walking completely bent. Had to go and do strength training and go to the gym and started doing all that kind of stuff, and eventually fixed it. But right enough, that was a forceful change.
A breaking point.
That was a breaking point.
Yeah.
Oh well, never mind. Let's talk about more of your process at a wedding, because it's, when I look through your portfolio, it's I'm always trying to find descriptor words for when I have a guest on and I'm checking out their work. But that street style of photography that you mentioned was one of those terms that I thought, because it's very much like that. It doesn't feel like your traditional wedding photography. I mean, there's elements of that, obviously, but your composition and stuff is pretty unique. There's not too many wedding photographers out there who adopt that style. So yeah, let's talk about it. Can you run us through, though, how you would approach a wedding day? Once you've talked to your couple, you know everything that they have to give you. Like, when you show up, how are you thinking? How are you moving throughout the day? Run us through that process.
Well, part of the thing why couples hire us as their photographers is because we are not intrusive. We won't be telling them what to do during the day. So when we get there, we're obviously saying hi to everybody and just because I know some photographers are like just a fly on the wall and won't move and won't talk. So we do interact with people. If they ask us questions, obviously we will respond. We will be chatting, laughing, reacting to their conversations, but we don't tell them what to do, where to stand, where to get dressed. I mean, obviously, if it's something that they ask, like, where should I put my dress on? And you can suggest some places, but it's more for them to be comfortable than for me to get the best photo.
Okay.
But if I can get like a really amazing light, obviously, I will suggest it, but I won't purposely do things because I'm not a purist. I'm not like, I cannot move Coke from the table. But I do want things to be as real as possible, just for me to enjoy it more and also capture them in their real element. We're already subtracting them from their homes because it's a venue in Riviera Maya. That element on its own is like completely like different from where they normally are.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying for them to be as much as they are as possible. And when I'm constantly telling people what to do, I'm just blocking a lot of important things and real stuff that is going to happen. So basically what we do during the entire day is just positioning. It's not even following them around. It's positioning ourselves in a place where we know that we can get the best photos possible from the best angle. And one of the keys is composition. So the composition is going to dictate the angle or the placement, and we're just going to wait for things to happen in that frame. Unless something very important is happening that it's not perfectly composed, then we were going to try and do our best there. Because obviously the moment is going to be the most important thing. But a lot of times, if we see a very interesting composition, we're just going to wait as long as we can for something interesting to happen there.
Yeah.
Is that at any time of the day you'll take that approach?
I would say pretty much, yeah. It's kind of what we've been doing for so many years that we're kind of trained to that. So we are following the moment, we're following the movement, we're following whatever is interesting, but the base is going to be the composition,
Yeah.
How long would you wait in a spot? for a moment before giving up on it?
Oh, that's a great question. It can take like a long time. It can be obviously not for ceremony. Ceremonies, as I mentioned, those are 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
I've been at the ceremony, I've been in the same spot for the entire ceremony, waiting for it's a safe spot. I'm not saying that I'm behind the priest the entire time, right? Like I'm in a safe spot where I'm getting what I want to get, but I could be in the same spot. So I just make sure I tell my sister, like, okay, you're the one that has to like cover pretty much everything else because I'm gonna get this photo. Okay. But let's say during getting ready, I can be in the same spot for 20 minutes waiting for the shot to happen.
Wow.
Obviously, if something really awesome is happening, like if that is showing up and I adjust, I change to a different location or a different angle. But then I might come back to that same spot just to wait for that cool moment to happen.
Very cool. And what dictates the composition that makes you wait? Is it the lighting? Is it the color or something else?
Anything. It could be lighting. Yeah, it could be light, like you have this gorgeous, like glorious ray of light and you're just waiting for someone important to walk by or something awesome to happen. And I found that when you wait, like the photo gods will deliver. Yeah. It's like it's like the prize. It's like praying for something to happen and it will happen. Like a lot of the photos that we have in our portfolio is because we anticipated and waited long enough for things to happen.
Yeah.
With that technique, and assuming you do that multiple times throughout the day, it's got me thinking, like, how many images do you take for a full day's wedding? Because I suppose you do need to sacrifice getting a certain number of shots to wait in a same spot to get that one image.
Yeah.
So
you're almost going for quality over quantity, I guess.
A little bit. It's when you start shooting weddings, you feel like you have to capture absolutely everything. I don't know if you've seen that. I mean, obviously you guys, you've been in the business for a long time. But for photographers, I see, and I've been teaching for a while, so I've seen so many students making this mistake where they are like just chasing. They're just taking a ton of photos of different things without actually nailing anything because they're just chasing the photo. So that's why their portfolios is just pretty photos of the bride and the groom because that's when they have full control, but the rest of the day they don't. So, or I don't know, they just have a ton of pretty details. But I try to make them think a lot about how important it is to capture the wedding day, like honor the wedding day all the way through, not just during portraits or not just while you're taking photos of flowers. Like everything else is important. So I think it's we do shoot a lot, but we don't shoot a lot of everything. We shoot a lot of the things that we know that matter, but it's taken a lot of years to understand what matters. Because at the beginning, you don't know what matters. That's why you're shooting pretty much everything. Yeah. So we kind of have this instinct that we know that something is going to happen between the mother of the bride and her sister. Like we know that they're like we are, all our senses are paying attention to what is happening around us. So we keep listening to who's coming, who's walking, and that's when we're preparing ourselves to capture the moments. It's not when they're already hugging. We're there beforehand, waiting for the hug to happen. So that's when we shoot a lot. We shoot through the moment. So for the same, you will see our contact sheet, and it looks like a stop motion of the same situation, like a ton of photos, because you never know when the emotion is gonna be or the expressions are gonna be at their best, and then again nothing for a little bit, and then we found another thing to shoot and compose and wait, and then we shoot a lot through that, and then stop again, So it's kind of how But yeah, we do shoot, I don't know, maybe 800, 1,000 photos per hour between the two of us. So when we come back from an 8-hour wedding, we might have around 6,000, 7,000 photos.
Yeah.
And what would you call that down to?
10%.
Okay. So if anyone's thinking, oh, I shoot too many, but I'm not getting all the shots, like you would say 10%. If you're hitting 10% of your images out of all the ones you take, that's a good ratio.
I think so. I mean, it's different for everybody. I know people that go to a wedding and shoot 2,000 photos, and they come back with, like, they deliver 800, and they're super happy with them. So it's just the way we shoot and the way we've been shooting for a long time. We've noticed that it's 10%. And actually, yesterday I follow a guy that is an amazing photographer, and he shoots sometimes for Nat Geo. And this is something that I've been teaching for a while, but it was very interesting that I read it again yesterday. And he shot for his assignment for Nat Geo. His name is Rubens. And he shot for his assignment around 6,000 photos. And he says that he called down to 30. Wow. And he sent them, like the editor chose the photos, and they are actually gonna print 5 for the story out of 6,000, Those 5 photos, maybe one is going to transcend, and, like, we're all going to think of that photo or whatever. But it's very interesting that he's one of the best photographers in the world, and he has to shoot 6,000 photos because the magazine is going to print 5. So just to keep that in mind, that I think what we need to do as photographers is to work through the scene and micro compose until your composition is great. But also in those micro composing, you're capturing already the moment until the moment is at its peak, at the best.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to work through it so much.
Yeah. In terms of, like, the couple session, when you've got them, and you said you don't guide or do too much with a couple in terms of posing throughout the day, but in the couple session, you've obviously got a bit more control. How are you interacting with a couple in that sort of moment of the day?
So also, they hire us because they don't want to pose too much. They're not the kind of people that like to be in the center of attention or the spotlight. So we take maybe 15, 20 minutes for portraits. That's like the sweet spot for everybody, for them and for us.
Yep.
When they hire us they give us like 2 hours for that. We really struggle because it's we do. I mean, I'm used to like starting with the very basic. For them is like, let's do a portrait for grandma. Let's find a good spot, good background, pretty light. Look at the camera, and once I have that, I can just run through and just go with creativity and start building from there. But I always like to start very, very simple, because it helps my brain to kind of unlock like the next level, like if you're playing a video game. Yep. And also I know that if something happens, if the coordinator comes and, hey, we need to start already, like I know that I have a base. If there's a zombie apocalypse, we already have that photo, so we can just keep going with the rest. So I think just letting them be during portraits is also very important. So I will try and push for certain photos that fit our portfolio and the way that creativity works, but mostly because of the composition. But what happens in the photo, it's them interacting. It's not them being super posy. It's more about them and the way they interact with each other. Yeah. We just let them be.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to hear what your mindset is then when you're working with such a tight amount of time in regards to composition. I think of someone like Fer Huristi, who does a lot of great compositional work in a quick amount of time in like venues that you maybe wouldn't think are particularly interesting. He sees the interest in it. and is able to create something creative in what would usually be a boring wedding venue or whatever. What is your approach to shooting then? And how do you manage to get creativity? Oh, I don't know how to word this. How do you manage to be so creative in such a short amount of time? If you just tell me your approach for being creative during a couple session. I've lost my words. I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
No, but I know. I think I know what you're trying to ask. For couples portraits, it's all the information that they give us. It's also important. It's not just during the day, but also on the creative part. So I try to honor the place too and show it as much as I can, even during portraits, but in a way that it's a little bit different than what I've seen before or what I've tried before. So that's why it's pushing my creativity to try something different with them. I also have certain things that are kind of our brand, and it's that our beaches are pretty boring in a way that there are not many elements to play with. So something that I started to play with since the very beginning was with leaves and plants and trees and palm trees.
Yeah.
So you will find a lot of that in our photos and use them as a foreground to frame. So when I have that photo, when I have the portrait of the bride and groom looking at the camera for grandma, and when I have a photo with a leaf, I feel at ease. I feel like, okay, I accomplished my services here. So we tried different things. We tried everything with different lenses. We when we pose a couple, I tried and walk around them 360 to see if there was a different angle that was more interesting or the light was better. So that also gives us a ton of things that to work with in very little time. So we're not moving them a lot. We actually, if a location is working because the light is amazing, we will just stay in the same place the entire 15, 20 minutes. We won't move to a lot of different places because that takes a lot of time and it's very hot. So people get tired really quick. Yeah. So we always want to make sure that they're comfortable and happy with what is happening.
Yeah. I think that's something that new photographers make the mistake of quite regular is they try and get 7 or 8 locations in a couple session. You're like, you don't need that. Just rein it back, get a few good killer shots in 1, maybe 2 locations, and you'll be fine. Like they always try and overdo it.
Yeah, unless the couple really wants like all those locations, then there's no reason to be moving around. Like we just shot a wedding at the beginning of the year where the couple had a very specific timeline and they wanted to go, I don't know, to 15 different spots in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, I mean, it might happen if you have a golf cart, but we don't have one. And then we have to get there and take the photo and then move to the next. So you just have to cut it down to 5, like not 15. And we only have 30 minutes. So it was a nightmare. It was awful. It was terrible. It was really difficult. We were all sweating, which for us is normal, but for them is not. And then we had to wait for the makeup artist to fix things because we were running around, so no, don't try not to do that.
I wonder, like, do you think that stance of taking them to different locations is because their ability to take an interesting compositional shot is lacking? Do you think? Like, because we all know put the couple in the lower third center frame. There's the wide, and then you have the wide, then you mid close up. But when I'm looking at this portfolio, it's very clear that you use foreground elements and shapes and leaves and trees and all these elements. So how, if you were in that situation where you're in one location for 15 minutes because the light is good and you needed to get a good set of like 5 images, say, like how would you vary them up enough to feel like they are a different image instead of the same image slightly different 5 different times?
If it's because of the light, I think that's the easiest. If it's just
Okay.
the composition, then it's a little bit more difficult because the composition is kind of that one. But if it's the light, it's the easiest because you have frontal light, you have side light, you have the other side light, you have backlight, like that already it's giving you 4 different ones. And then it depends also on the angle. So depends a little bit of the posing, and if you pose them for the light, then you have certain results, because backlight also can give you, if you're shooting for highlights, it's giving you silhouettes. If you're shooting for the skin, it's giving you like a really nice white backdrop. So with light, you have so much to do. It's so amazing. And I haven't talked a lot about light with you guys, but it was my first love. It was like I fell in love with light. So now I cannot take it for granted, because I see it in a certain way where it's fully integrated. Same as composition now, but that composition took a little bit longer. But for me, light, it's when you have good light, you can do pretty much anything you want. It is actually pretty exciting. So light is the one that it's the easiest to get creative.
Yeah. What is this thing you're calling light? I don't know. We don't get a lot of sun in Scotland.
Oh, it's true, you guys. But sorry about that. I forgot. Yeah, no, we're pretty blessed with that. But even that, I was in a workshop in Spain with a lot of people from Poland, and they were complaining about that. They're like, "Oh, our skies are gray all the time. We have no light." Blah, blah. So I show them how to work with light when it's very soft and subtle. And that's absolutely gorgeous, guys. I promise. Like, even with that subtle light, you might not have as much contrast or as many like different ideas, but the subtle light can be really sexy and really pretty. And yes, I one day I will go visit and we will play with the light there.
We're going to interrupt this podcast to bring you an advertisement for PickTime. Our buddies at PickTime, we love PickTime. If you want to elevate your business, PickTime's maybe the way to do it.
It's an online gallery delivery service.
It's a really good looking one, which is initially how we got into the service. It just looks better than all the other kind of platforms that we personally use.
Yeah. We've over time got to know the owners, got to know the people behind it. Lovely people, great support system there as well.
There's just so many tools at your fingertips with PickTime, but the marketing and the blogs and the slideshow features.
Yeah, there's so much more than just a gallery delivery service. You've got all those things that Simon was talking about. You can create your own blog from it. You can create slideshows. One new feature that I really love is the vendor network. It's where you can use AI to curate a gallery for a specific supplier. So you could use AI to gather all the photos of the flowers and send them to the florist, and they would have that gallery specific just for them.
It's kind of a mind-blowing feature.
Yeah.
And we might as well be taking advantage of AI before the uprising and it starts taking advantage of us. So let's just all bear that in mind.
Yeah, and not to mention the built-in store, and that way you can just make more money while also having a nice, aesthetically pretty gallery.
Yeah. And if you want to sign up today, you can get a free month if you use Perspective at checkout.
Yeah.
So if you want to test it out for free for a month, go for it.
Take your business to the next level with PickTime. Let's talk about like equipment for a bit. Get the techie stuff. What's in your camera bag? What camera and lens is your sort of go-to setup?
So I was a Nikon shooter for many, many years, and then when mirrorless started happening and everybody was moving, I tried Sony. And Sony, and in general, mirrorless during the day are pretty awesome. But I realized that when it was time to shoot at night with flash, they are not awesome anymore. Like, they're the worst things in the world. Like, I just can't believe that someone is happy shooting with a flash, with a mirrorless. It's slow as hell. It's like, it's taking forever. The mechanic shutter, you have like this super long blackout. Obviously, maybe the new cameras, like the new from this year, are a little bit better. That's what I've heard. But for me, it was a nightmare at the beginning. I was missing the shots. Like it's like the focus tracking was pretty awesome during when you have daylight, but at night it's not that greatest.
Wow.
It's not that great. So I've been shooting hybrid. I've been shooting mirrorless during the day and still with a DSLR at night, just to get kind of the same results. So that's what I have in my camera bag. I have a DSLR for night, and I have 2 mirrorless from Sony, and for the day. During the day, they're amazing. The night is, but it's pretty nightmarish.
What models are you working with?
I shoot with A9s, which is not like they're not making them anymore, but they're still pretty awesome cameras. And with my DSLR, it's at the 750. It's a pretty old Nikon camera that we still love, the Nikon shooters. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my lenses are, I shot for over 10 years with 35. That was my base, and that was what I would shoot pretty much everything. And 105. That was when I needed to, like for a ceremony or certain things that I couldn't get very close, or for some portraits, I would shoot with a 105, and details was awesome too. And now I added a little bit of variety, and I'm shooting a lot with an 18, which is pretty weird, but I'm loving it. 18, yeah. I know, I should love it. I know, it's crazy. I didn't think that I was going to love it that much. And because I use the crop sensor too, like back and forth, I have the 18 and 24 in the camera, which is pretty awesome. And I shoot with an 85 also now.
Okay. I was going to say, because when you said the 35 to the 105, I was like, that's quite a gap, like space between the two focal lengths.
But you know that what I found, it's that because of shooting that way for almost 10 years, I kind of became an expert with a 35. You know, like I knew exactly where to stand to get what I wanted to get. So when I was bored, kind of like, okay, I know how this works, I started shooting wider, and I loved it. So now I'm most of the time shoot with, depends on the situation and the location, but most of the time I use the 18.
Yeah, the 18. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's an unusual lens. Not many people say an 18.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. That's pretty cool. And it's funny that, again, that you mentioned, you know, you as I call it, the Super 16. It's APS-C, but just for video, it's like Super 16. That sensor you get to crop in, so it's nice to hear an actual photographer using that ability, because I just feel like it's for dumb video people. Like not knowing what to do, so we're like, oh, we'll just use it.
I think it's amazing because you have one lens, you have two lenses, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you need, you don't have to change it. And here we cannot afford changing lenses because of the wind and the sand and the ocean breeze. And so changing lenses, it's pretty dangerous for our cameras here. So I just love that with my two cameras. I'm always carrying two cameras. With my two cameras, I'm carrying 4 lenses at a time, and that's pretty handy.
Yeah. I've always felt the same as well over here. When it rains, there's different qualities of rain over here. There's that the one I hate the most, or hate is a bit strong word, but there's this the rain I'm talking about is like super small particulates of rain, really everywhere. It's almost like a dense fog. It looks like a fog, like a moving fog, and you don't think it's a lot of rain, but then you're in it for like a minute, and you're drenched. You're just drenched, but it can kind of float through the air. So no matter like if you're like putting your camera down, you're like hunching over the camera, and I would never unscrew a lens in that type of rain, because there's just no getting around it. So I'm just like, and the same with people who want to use zoom lenses as well. Like you put your barrel out, and then the rain gets inside the thing, and then you zoom it back in, and it brings the water in. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
But I have a question for you guys. How do you protect your equipment when you're shooting?
I don't really. I like to do the hunch method, where I'm just like hold my camera here, and I go over like this, and I'm just
Now I understand
or
why
just a big jacket.
I understand why your back was hurting a few years ago.
So I've changed my camera rig recently, so it's a bit bulkier now. So I tend to do a lot of shooting at my waist. So actually to roll my shoulders a little bit to protect from the rain is not too bad. But I suppose at the end of the day, when we're shooting out in the rain, proper rain, then
trust the manufacturer's water sealing and just go with it.
That's it.
No.
Bag of rice at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It's risky. I'm not gonna lie. There's a risk to it, but but I can't even, like, I already know the sand gets everywhere, so I don't know how you cope with sand. Like,
no, it's really bad, and the salt from the ocean breeze is the worst. It's like making everything super rusty.
Is there anything?
Yeah, it froze for a slight second.
It froze for a slight second. Is there anything else in your camera bag that would, surprise anyone? Like, do you have any special glass, or do you have a number of different flashes, or?
No, I don't think so, because of because of the way we shoot and how long we've been doing this. We just want to keep it simple, like the least the better for equipment, and we don't want to be carrying a ton of things. So we have with us a tripod and a monopode for the light at night, 3 flashes, and 4 cameras. That's what we bring with us for nice. every wedding. Yeah, we just simplified it. At the beginning, it was like, oh, let's buy all these lenses, and it's gonna be fun. And then you just hated them all, and you don't want to carry them anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's. I completely understand you with the Imagen kit.
Especially you guys, I'm sure you love all the toys.
Yeah. The big light is probably the most annoying thing for big weddings, when you need to spotlight like a speech from a mile away. You have to have this big light stand with a big light beaming it through. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah. I want to talk about pricing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think it's probably one of these things that especially a lot of new people struggle with, for sure. And even people actually who are even been in the market for a long time, they still don't know how to price or why they are a certain price. They might even go, oh, well, the rest of the market's this price, so I am this price. Talk about how you price and structure your pricing for your wedding packages, and how the market has reflected your prices, if it has affected you.
Well, I was pretty lucky because I started working for someone, right? So they had the business model already figured out. So I just kind of dived in and followed after, when I started doing my own thing, kind of followed the same model. So I was offering, it's still kind of the same. I offer 3 options for my clients where it's about coverage. So we do have smaller weddings, like elopements or very tiny weddings where they have just a couple of guests. So I do have a 3-hour version for them for smaller weddings.
Okay.
But the rest is from around 6 hours all the way up to 12. But those 12 hours can be divided in a weekend, because a lot of people that come here and get married, they have several activities. So they want to have rehearsal dinner covered, or welcome party, or pool party, or a catamaran tour, or something like that. So, and we love shooting those. Those are a lot of fun. Rehearsal dinner, no, we hate rehearsal dinner, but we love meeting people beforehand. We love meeting the whole family, knowing who is who, and listening to the speeches give us a lot of information too. So we love that part. Not the actual photographing that, because it's kind of boring, but just meeting everybody is pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So I think that's my favorite coverage, is the weekend coverage where we are there with them for many hours in different days. And my pricing has been just going a little bit up every time. I don't raise my prices every year. It depends on how I feel the market is going. I also do a little bit of research, and I ask my friends that live here, like, hey, how much are you charging? Because I was undercharging myself for a while. I didn't know that everybody was raising their prices already. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I should go up a little bit. So I'm not an expert at all. I've been doing just very organic and intuitive everything, and it's kind of been working. But I also notice when people say, it's just you're out of our budget, and as we have so many photographers here that are doing a really good job. Like beforehand, you could say, well, you're gonna get what you pay for, right? But now, no, it's like you're paying very little money and you're getting amazing work back. So what I'm doing is focusing on creating more relationships with vendors and especially planners. And it's a great filter because they know already what kind of clients we work with, and they will recommend us to the clients that I already mentioned. Don't want to post too much, or they don't like to be the center of attention, or they just want to enjoy the day and they care more about their families and their friends. So that helps a lot to not having to educate them because the planner already did that for us. And working with hotels and venues that kind of have the same work ethics as we do, because here it's very brutal the way they treat tourists. Yeah, it's awful, especially weddings.
How so?
Well, because they charge them for absolutely everything. They just see them as, but in a bad way, because it's a hotel, so they're selling rooms. But when someone wants to bring their wedding in, and they like, okay, is it okay if I bring my centerpieces? I want to bring them from home because I made them. Yeah, but we're going to charge you $15 per centerpiece because we're going to place them. Those kind of things.
Wow.
Like you already made them, but because someone has to put them on the table, we're going to charge you for that. And people are like really upset about all those things. We have vendor fees. Like if you want to bring your own vendor instead of hiring the people that we as a venue recommend, you have to pay $1,500 for that per vendor. So they're like charging them. I know. And that's like the standard now, 1,500. It used to be just a day pass or something like that, but now it's 1,500. So on top of my fee as a photographer, couples have to pay another 1,500 to the hotel just for them to let me in. So that's why I feel like they're not being treated very well. So we love to work with hotels that don't do these practices. Like they treat them well. They care about their wedding. They don't have 15 weddings per day. They only have one per weekend. So they give all their attention to the clients. So that's kind of how it's been a little bit like it's been working for us in the last few years when we're working more with other vendors and creating teams. Instead of being a lone ranger and not knowing what to do, just working with other people, it's been working very well for us.
Yeah. And like after the wedding, you're delivering a certain number of images depending on what you've shot. How are you delivering them? Is it online gallery, album? What's sort of standard?
The thing that includes is only the online gallery, but I offer them always like other options for printing and canvases and albums, and that part is pretty awesome too because I just started recently working on that. I work with a great company from Canada. These two guys are my friends and I love them, and they do the selling part afterwards for us. So we don't, because I don't feel comfortable selling. I feel like it's like, oh, you already paid me and I'm now trying to sell you an album or a print but I also realized that it was a disservice not to offering them things where instead they were going to Walmart and print their photos. So I started working with this company, Victory Albums. They're awesome. And they do the whole thing where they're like, showing them what they can buy or get for their houses or print an album, but it's not me anymore. So they're able to brag about our work and show them in a way that I don't feel like I'm the one pushing the sale. So that's been very helpful for me. Yeah.
I have not heard of Victory albums before. Is that them?
Well,
there?
these guys are like, they kind of work with very tight group people, and they're just awesome because they're also wedding photographers. So they have their own business as wedding photographers, and also are doing all the working on the album, like creating and designing and working with the client afterwards for some people. So that's pretty awesome.
Is this Abby and Dave?
Yes, Abby and Dave.
Okay, cool. I've got the right company. Great. Cool. I'll definitely check that out. I like like I say, every time I hear someone new, I'm like, I always appreciate having my view branch out. I like to hear more creatives out there. I want to hear what they're doing. That's cool.
Well, and you will love them. They're awesome. And Dave also is a coach for a ton of photographers, and he's pretty amazing. Like he's like, we all love them both. And
yeah,
they're pretty great.
Very cool. Very cool. So what platform do you host all your images on?
Well, the only one, the best one.
The only one, the best one.
Well, no, I've been working with Big Time for a few years, and I mean, I obviously love it because it's beautiful. You know, that's one of the things that as visual people, we like, that when we present something, it's pretty on itself. The platform looks pretty, and it's well put. That it kind of fits everyone's brand, because you kind of do some adjusting to it, but it's beautiful on itself. But one of the things that I appreciate about tech companies that are giving us software is that they're always improving and also keeping us in the loop. Because I've worked with companies before where they're improving too, but we don't know that they are doing things, and we don't even realize what is happening in the back end. So with them, with Big Time, I just love that they keep us informed about new things and what's coming, and they listen to the community, because we as human beings, but photographers, we tend to be a little bit reactive on things and kind of like, oh my God, I cannot access my photos right now. And we just panic. And I love that they listen to what is happening and they address it quickly. That's something that I appreciate about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, us too. So what's your approach to social media in terms of, like, is that purely a marketing tool for you, or do you enjoy using social media?
Oh my God, no, I think that's it's been one of the hardest parts for me since in 20 years. When I started, there was no Facebook. So, or maybe there was no Facebook when I started.
Was there a MySpace? Was there
there was ICQ.
What was the other one? Bebo? Did you have Bebo over there?
No, I didn't. I think I had MySpace, but we had nothing to show images yet. So one of the things that back then was working really well for us was a destination wedding forum, because forums were kind of big at the beginning. And that was really helpful for everybody, like for brides to find us and kind of have a place where to, like, something that happens now on Facebook, but back then was in forums. So now what I'm just kind of choosing a certain platforms. The only one where I display my work kind of constantly is Instagram. Facebook, I just use it for ranting or talking to photographers in a way that I'm just giving them advice or showing them something or sharing memes, like it's not very, I don't know, like my Facebook page is just an echo chamber of my Instagram. So it's not, I don't have like a huge strategy on Facebook at all, or Instagram for that matter. I'm learning now, or relearning, Pinterest, because I know that that's a tool that we all should be using, and we're so lazy with social media. We should all jump on. Well, not everybody. Please don't. Let's not oversaturate Pinterest. But we do need to start working on Pinterest. But no, I don't have a great strategy. I just post what I feel like. I don't like creating reels, so I know that I'm pretty behind on that. It's awful. that's why I'm not on TikTok. I don't even look at it because it's overwhelming. It's so much and so no. I just like looking at photos. I don't want to be looking at videos all the time. So yeah, no, I'm not the greatest at social media. Instagram is the one that I'm working the most, and it's the one that has been working for me too. Like a lot of people find me on Instagram, so I still play there.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, I mean, it's every platform is a tool, and every tool has its, job. So if your clients are finding you on Instagram, it just makes sense for you to keep using Instagram. Like, but Facebook actually always, I didn't realize people, well, this is going to sound rude. I didn't realize that people still use Facebook properly. I just use it as like what you just said, as like I'm posting on Instagram. Post it on Facebook. Oh, okay, I'll just do that as well. Like just,
you said, it's funny because my photography community, the closest one, it's very active on Facebook. So when we have a certain topic going on, it's super trendy on Facebook. It's a place where you can actually talk. Instagram is a little bit harder because the conversation doesn't flow the same way. So when I want to share something with photographers, let's say that Peak Time is running an offer, I will put it on Facebook, and that would be the best place to do that. So, last year we had a photographer that decided to go to the copyright office in Mexico. I don't know what would be the name in English, but it's kind of like they copyrighted the word boudoir.
Boudoir,
right?
Yeah.
What?
Which is they copyrighted the word boudoir with another word. Let's say boudoir photography something. So they started threatening people that had the boudoir word on their businesses, including their students, because they were running like a teaching class for boudoir photographers. So including their students, they were doing this thing. They were threatening them, then you cannot use a word because it's ours now. And so that blew up on Facebook for sure and grabbed everyone's attention. And it was a place where we were all kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So I find that Facebook, even though maybe it's just for an older generation, it's still working for certain things. And my community is pretty active there. I think I'm older now. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm old.
Time comes for us all. Don't worry. Was that a recent event with the boudoir thing?
I know. No, they were just assholes. I mean, at the end of the day, I know they like we all proved that you cannot do that. First of all, because you cannot copyright a word that it's like a commonly used word, and second, that was pretty mean, especially if you're doing it to someone that trusted you and invested in you. And so no, they ended up apologizing after like a hard push of the whole community. And obviously all the wedding blogs and photography blogs picked up on this, and they run out articles on this. So it was I haven't heard from them in a year. Basically, and I mean, I know. I don't cheer for the cancel culture. I feel like we don't need to go that further, but it's important that they realize that what they're doing is wrong.
There is definitely that fine line as people that we need to walk, not to like ruin somemone's life.
They'll have learned their mistake and learned that wasn't a good way to act.
That being said, what is with all the assholes coming about? What the fuck is with, like, there's every fucking month there's like a big issue. Googlegate, Sepia Bride, fucking Boudoir. Like, what the fuck? What are you doing? What are we doing?
I know.
It blows my mind sometimes.
And it's interesting that people don't realize that you need to be very careful what you're posting out there. It's like you can be opinionated, you can say things, but there are consequences. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Stop being arseholes. Anyway, let's talk about branding. Because you talked about your relationship with planners and venues and stuff, and that's one way to get clients. And obviously, we've talked about social media. It's another way of getting clients. But your brand and I suppose marketing your brand, which also comes under the umbrella of maybe Instagram, social media type stuff. But to have that base brand, I think, is really important because it kind of represents as much of yourself as it does the work. And that's probably not only relating to wedding photography, but in such a personal service business, I feel like your brand represents you as much as it does your work. But I want to hear your thoughts on branding and your approach.
It's a little bit tricky for destination wedding photographers because the people that hire you are all over the place. So positioning your brand, it's really hard. It's not like, oh, I can run into magazines or things, because you never know where they're coming from. So the only way we've done that, as I mentioned at the beginning, the Best Destination Wedding Forum was pretty amazing because it was very clear who we were, and because of how brides will talk about us. So a lot of people will hear like what kind of company they were working with, and they liked our customer service and how we treated people. But now it's a little bit difficult because there is not a place where people can go to and refer to maybe just reviews, but reviews can also be very biased. So what I found is just being honest and true on my social media. That's what's been helpful, and that's why I post certain things, and that's why I put that on my profile on Instagram, and we're very clear about where we stand for and what we do. So for some people, they understand that our brand is kind, and we care about the world, we care about people, we care about certain topics. So that's been the only way now, because we cannot go to every single city in the States to position our brand, because that's where our clients are coming from.
Yeah, we ran into the same sort of issue. Like, we were speaking to an SEO company recently, and their first instinct was, oh, okay, so we need to sort of target Glasgow wedding filmmaker or whatever. And we were like, no, most of our clientele are Americans, so we need to somehow target some people in Boston, some people in Chicago. Like, we need to try and work out how to do that. It's tough.
And every time you hire someone to help you with that, they run to that problem. Like I've seen it for 10 years or more, where you're trying to start like getting more clients, but it's like you're aiming the entire world. So how do you pull that? So it's very interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting that you hear that you put, again, more of yourself and your viewpoints out there as a way to get clients. Because I would say I've always been nervous about putting that kind of stuff out there on the brand. Just because I know, like, if there's like a political topic or whatever, how heated it can get. And I don't want to draw heat. But then the way you described it and creating like a safe brand, I appreciate that point of view. So I think I'm going to go away and give that a thought about what you've just said.
You don't have to do it. I mean, it's not necessary. It's just what I put out there. It's that I know that I'm risking the heat, as you mentioned, but it's the heat that I'm willing to take. I'm putting out there the battles that I'm willing to fight, not the ones that I'm not. So in the political stance here, we are going through like a very divided country, same as pretty much the entire world. So I don't post a lot about that, because I don't want to go that route. I don't want I don't want clients to rule us out just because of our political stance, but I have no problem a client ruling me out because they are homophobic. I have no problem going that battle, like fighting that battle at all. So those are the kind of things that you have to know what you care about the most and what you're willing to fight for. And I don't have a problem working with someone that has different political views than mine, but I do care about people that don't care about human rights. So those are kind of the differences that I kind of work with, and it's a very fine line. So sometimes I'm pretty feisty. Sometimes I don't want any kind of conflict at all. So it's also like I try to be very gentle. I just want to make sure that my clients know that our company is a safe space for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely gonna give that some thought. If you're out there listening and you're thinking, oh yeah, I wish I was brave enough to put stuff like that out there. Like if that speaks to you, you're just not doing it. I do want to hear from you, because there's definitely certain issues in my life that I've come across that I've, thought one way and then changed my mind on the others. And yeah, whether it's just you want to talk to somebody about stuff like that, we're open to it. So yes.
We talk about some images now.
Let's go to show and tell. I really want to have like a little theme song that I can push. Be like show and tell.
You can exactly start singing. I like that.
Maybe I'll bring a guitar out, and who knows? Maybe I'll get Gunzi to write a song.
Can you make out what image we've got up in this TV? Because I know it's quite pixelated on your end.
Yeah. It's an easy. I can recognize that one. Really.
Okay. Also, really what camera is she seeing? Is she seeing the webcam?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. She's
seen the Sony.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Just because we've got two cameras running, we've got like a safety webcam at the top. I couldn't remember which one you're seeing. Anyway, so like I said in the last podcast, I do the pre-show notes quite early on. Like I just want to get right into learning about who the guest is and picking images. So again, I cannot remember which of your images I have selected. It'll come to me though. But however, this image I do remember picking because I thought this is, for me, like
terrifying.
Fully, well, yeah, the image itself is actually quite scary. I just imagine that ladder to just slide down and hands go chopping off. But yeah, anyway, the reason I picked this image because it just has that full-on documentary, like we mentioned, street photography type vibe, like early street photography type vibe to me. And it's not a wedding image to me. I mean, what is wedding photography really? But to me, this isn't like a typical wedding photography image. And as our listeners know, I'm a big fan of black and white. Big fan. The storytelling in this, the composition, the danger and humor, like, I don't know, it all kind of coalesces in this image that I find very interesting. And I do just want to keep looking at it. There's quite a lot of detail in such a simple image. There's a lot of storytelling, and yeah, but I do want to hear the backstory of this image and your thoughts on it, your thoughts on how you edited it, and even why you picked this image to be in the gallery in the first place.
Well, there's like a huge story after this image, but what happened is that I walked in the ballroom where the ceremony, where the reception was going to happen, because we arrive very early every time to a wedding. If we have to start at noon, we arrive at 10, because I want to make sure, like, I know the areas and I have enough time to take photos of certain details. I don't want the details to be taken away from good moments and things like that. So we didn't know where the reception was going to be. So when I walk in, I see the scene, and it's like my brain didn't tell me, oh my freaking God, what is happening here? My brain just said, take the photo. You know, it's like, I didn't even realize. It's like, I don't know. It was very interesting what happened in my head, because I only took 2 photos. When if my brain would have told me, oh my God, this scene is amazing, I would have stayed there for a while. But I only took 2 photos. I'm like, holy shit, what is this? Like, maybe I was scared. I'm like, this is really dangerous. They shouldn't be doing that. So I only took 2 photos and left. And when I see the photo, I'm like, oh my God, I got really lucky that actually, because the light is on, guys. You know, they switch the bulb and the light is on, and you can see, it's like, how many people do you need to change a light bulb? You know, like all these things, that the humor behind it, but also the risk. And it talks a lot about how our tourism industry has no safety rules for their employees, in the way they are being, like, can you imagine if they treat the couples badly? I don't want to tell you how bad it is for their employees. So after this, I took this photo. I added to the gallery for the bride and groom, obviously, because it's a cool photo and I love it so much. But it sparked this idea of, every time I had a chance to photograph vendors doing something cool or risky at a wedding, so I created a vendor project after this photo. So every time I have a chance to take photos of vendors, I mean, I don't go all the way out to do it, but if there is a situation where I can do it, I will definitely take photos, because it's just a way to kind of honor them, and also show couples how hard people work for the wedding. That I don't want their work to not be recognized, because it's easy to thank their planner and their photographer and their caterer, but not the people that are like changing the light bulb, or the people that are moving all the loungers from the beach so your wedding looks like the way you want it to look. Or so I don't know. I just started doing this, that I feel it's kind of like helping people to understand how important the rest of the vendors are for your wedding day. So that's kind of like the long, short story for this photo.
Yeah.
I love that. I actually love that.
It's almost like a hack to keep yourself excited about the wedding day. Like, you're obviously excited about the wedding day for the couple and for creating those images, but it's like a wee hack that you're playing a game with yourself, where you're trying to get extra images for your own sort of project. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun, because there are sometimes the downtimes, like cocktail hour, and times where it's kind of standard what you're shooting. There are so many things happening, you know, with the bartender or the person that it's moving furniture, or it's just fun to play with that too.
Yeah.
Plus, is this? I mean, I don't know. Greg's in the way of it, but is this a reflection of you?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm a big fan of like little cameos. If I can put myself in a little reflection, or have an arm in there, if I can see myself in there, it's my favorite. In fact, there's just happened today. There's a photographer that we work with sometimes, and he has this picture of a couple in the car, and I love the image is amazing, but I love it even more because I know just an inch of the groom, there's me with all my camera gear in next to him.
And that's very romantic scene.
It is very romantic scene of them like cuddling in the back of the car, and I'm there like with my camera gear. So there's a humor at the back end of it.
Of course,
but that
of course.
Also getting very Charlie Chaplin kind of vibes. You know, you just feel at some moment something's going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if it happened in real life, it wouldn't be funny. So, big fan of these massive, wide images, and the fact that you've made the couple seem so large because you've used their shadow to like drag their image across like a third of the image is wonderful. Plus the fact that I think it might be like just a go-to to try and erase all the people. You've got generative AI tools now. It would be a very cool image if all these people and all these distractions weren't there, but you've decided to keep them there. And I quite like the fact that photographers aren't using generative AI to remove everything, because that's not how it was. And I think it just adds to the image, the fact that they're all still there. But tell me your thoughts.
Well, this is a portrait. It happened, and it's not a wedding day, it's the day after.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And it's a shopping mall.
Mm.
So basically what happened is that we were taking photos on the third level, and when I looked down, I noticed that the shadows were like super long, and we had this like really cool idea of creating this image with long shadows because of the composition. The composition will work really well. But as you said, I could go and erase all the people, but it would be a super boring photo. I mean, it would be just graphic. It would be graphic, and that's cool. But that's cool that I've seen it so many times. And this is an old photo. We took it, I think, 12 years ago or something like that. So like the graphic photos weren't that common, or we wouldn't have seen as many. But one of the things that I wanted to live is that the people, just as a adding that it's cool that there was nobody else around them. It was just them and the shadows, and then everybody else. And also just as a kind of like a context image that for some people, a lot of people ask me if it was their first dance, or like, so that's kind of what I love about this photo, is that it's kind of mysterious. You don't know what is happening, and you wouldn't have guessed that it's a shopping mall. So it's just cool that sometimes adding the elements that are around you, it will give you context or add an extra layer of interest, instead of just having like 2 or 3 elements in the photo.
Yeah, it feels like a sort of a real and maybe stolen moment. Whereas if everything was erased and it was just them, it feels staged and artificial. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was staged, but it's staged in a way that feels more real, because everything else around them was happening.
Yeah. Plus 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
where the hell did I find this image? What? Although it's only, I was just like, right, where have I gotten this from? I'm scrolling down your Instagram and it popped up.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I share old images just for like, because I wanted to say something about that specific image, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't only share like the newest work. I also like to share old stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, that is a must in the landscape of social media. You like post all the time, as many times as you can. That's what they say. Repost.
Not everyone sees what you're posting anyway, so it don't matter.
Absolutely. That was one big thing I learned from, was it Esme Whiteside? That on TikTok you can have a popular video, let it get let it grow old, and then post it again. Just to see, and then you can post it again at a different time with different hashtags, see the difference, compare the two. I do that from time to time. Just
we're learning.
Actually, I've been posting a lot of old content recently.
Good, that's great, because like the people that know you now, they haven't seen your work before. Like, they're not going to scroll down as much.
Exactly.
And,
true.
It's the same with Pinterest too. You can like pin again and again, and then all of a sudden goes viral. So you can keep trying.
Yeah.
Pinterest is definitely the tool I'm going to learn when we have our little break.
Yeah.
I'm going to
get your winter project.
My winter project. Everyone has been talking about Pinterest, and it's always been on my mind. They use it all the time. Brides have been saying that they put boards together for years, and I've not bothered my backside.
No, because we're not interested in it. But I promise it's a very simple tool that we should be taking advantage of, and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I just need to figure out how to take advantage of it. Okay. This is a funny image actually for two reasons now. But so I picked this image because I wanted to know how you did it. But I just first of all, was this a pure accident? It feels like it wasn't a photoshopped thing, which you maybe would assume.
God, no.
Right. Okay, because
she sat there for hours until that bird flew.
Did you throw something at the bird to make it go? So I actually I thought it was natural, but only because the bird isn't like pin sharp. Which these birds at the bottom here are. So obviously I think it is just great timing, and it doesn't really matter if the bird isn't 100% in focus. That framing and the fact that you've just captured it is the thing that I like the most about it. So it's like that imperfect perfection in an image. But yeah, tell me about this image.
Well, this was anniversary session. It was our 5th anniversary session, and we were it wasn't the same beach they got married, but it was the same kind of like area. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, there were a lot of seagulls, and we were just hoping for something cool to happen with them. So that's why I was pre-focusing on the ones near the camera as foreground. Mm-hmm. And then I saw this one flying through, so I just shot through, but I never shoot really quick. I just kind of like focus and compose and focus and recompose. So it was pure luck, kind of, because we were aiming for something else, but then this bird flew through. But then we've created some images like this. Like this was very fortunate, but we found that it's kind of like we've been very lucky with birds. I think we kind of have a trait here. And so I have a lot of photos that I love with birds that kind of like locally are framing our couples or doing something cool that work really well. So I also feel that it has a lot to do with waiting and just kind of praying, as I said, praying to the photo gods to deliver something cool. And this couple has a very interesting story. So it was one of our first couples that we photographed. So they've been married for 15 years now. And they had 3 kids, and Jessica, the bride and the mother of the kids, passed away this year from cancer. So it's all their photos, because we created several photos for them, and different anniversaries are like very important for us. And I don't tell these stories because I don't want to kind of give this vibe of or put this out there where we're using the images and her death or someone else's as a marketing tool. So I don't say it much, but I just, because this is for photographers, I just want to remind you that we're not eternal and what we do matters. And these images are going to be very valuable for their kids too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Please tell me I have another image, because there's one that I want to talk about now. I hope I've put it in the gallery. This is not is this the last image?
Yeah.
Oh,
I believe so.
Which one? Maybe someone else's.
Okay, so no, it's definitely not. All right, let's talk about this image. So the reason I like it is because I'm a big fan of like realism in photos, and almost when something gets to the surrealism of it, like when it just passes over that boundary of like what like when you start hesitating as to like what's going on here, why is like we're clearly at a wedding prep and there's absolute carnage everywhere, and I love that. But then there's a Domino's driver what? It's just so out of place for our usual wedding. And I know they're having pizza. I can see it right there. But I don't know. It's just not your usual wedding getting ready foods. So just seeing a driver with his helmet on, just waiting for a tip, I just find really comical. And, the kid just chilling, all limbs just going off the back of the sofa, and they're clear. Like, there's a lovely little story about the guy waiting for his tip and how much is the tip, and you've got us, one of the bridesmaids holding the calculator with the amount. You've got people looking in their purses for like the amount. The bride is also like, there's just so many little elements here that I find that you keep looking. It's like one of those images where you keep looking at it and you find more and you keep finding more. And again, you just keep finding more. You're looking at all the mess and what's the story here? Like, it's just an absolute mess. And there's just so much story and character to it. But what a strange vantage point you have as well.
Yeah.
So tell me about this image, please.
Thank you so much for paying so much attention to this image. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, I love also complex images that make you stop and like, why? What is happening here? Why is someone standing at the door? Why is he a Domino's driver? So one of the things that I've learned to do, it's just to recognize situations that are not typical or common.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that they were going to deliver the pizzas at that moment, I'm like, okay, so we have a getting ready situation that it's a very chaotic room, and we have a lot of people, and we have bridesmaids, and we have kids, and they're eating pizza. How can I show this photo in a way that it's chaotic, but also do you want me to? Are we okay?
No, you're fine. There was a disconnected cable and I couldn't hear you very well. So I was trying to get Greg to turn you up, but then I fixed the problem and then you were very loud. Sorry about that.
No.
Please continue.
Okay, no, don't worry. So I knew that it was going to be a not typical situation here, where you don't always have a Domino's delivery person waiting for the tip. And so I wanted to show it in a way that we could see the whole mess, because it was very messy. And normally we tend to hide the mess or be mad at them because nothing is clear and clean. So for me, it's not. It's like, I'm just going to show it the way it is. And if it's messy, it's going to be shown that way. Sometimes I use different techniques, like using a long lens to kind of like zone out everything else. But in this case, I really wanted to show it how chaotic it was. So there was a stair going to a second floor in the room. So that's where I was standing, which was pretty, I was very lucky. Because from this point of view, I can show everything. I can show the pizza boxes. I can show the guy waiting. I can show everybody like kind of like looking for the money for the tip. So that's what I kind of waited and shot like a lot of photos. And this was the one that showed it at its best, because I wanted like kind of the body language of everybody to reflect what was happening in a way that you have to stop, but you also can understand what is happening. And I'm always aiming for these sort of images that are kind of like, maybe for the bride, this is not going to be like, the photo that is going to go on the wall at all. But it's one of the photos that is telling the story, and one of the things that at least they care about tipping the guy, and the guy is just I love his body language too. Like, he's just waiting, he's just like,
exactly.
He almost looks like he's like a hitman hiding behind the door or something.
I know, and he still has a helmet on. I know, it's just super cute. So that's kind of the story behind the photo. And also, like, it's very important as photographers to find the best angle possible. And I was very lucky that it was the stair, but it's just the angle. It's key for the storytelling too.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are like, even compositionally, it is a nice image because you have these. Well, you've got the mess, but you do have a series of heads that kind of lead up here to the driver's, the delivery guy's head. You've got this very clear set of lines, leading lines leading towards him, and there's space, like this area here. Other than the slipper there, which is hilarious, it's clear, so there's like space for him to be there. Like it's busy, but it's not all busy. It's busy over here, so there's space for him to breathe in the image. Plus, just to round it all off, you've got the bride reflected in the mirror. It's just perfect.
Well, sort of like what I was telling you before about microcomposing is that it kind of like when you do it for so long and so often, you kind of get used to it. So you cannot rest, your mind or your brain cannot rest until everybody is in the right spot for the photo. So that's why also composition is not, these sort of images are not just luck. It's also a lot of microcomposing until everybody is framed the best way possible in a scene.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so obviously those are all the images. However, I do want to very quickly talk about the fact that you use we have talked about it a little bit, about your use of foreground elements, but there's a big portion of your portfolio where you have used, again, like you said, like trees or leaves or things to frame. And I think there's one that you posted recently where it's just like palm tree leaves, like kind of like fingers, and they've created spaces and you've put family members in the spaces. A huge fan of that type of work in your portfolio. And that's the stuff that you don't often see many photographers doing, or at least I don't see it over here a lot. And I really do appreciate that. And it's those like elements I find, that's, again, it feels almost like a street photography type vibe, Like that's the environment. You're placing yourself in an interesting point of view, and they're just there, framed nicely. But it's all over. Like you do it all the time, and I do love that kind of work.
When you asked about unusual things in camera bag, were you expecting like a palm leaf to be in there? Just bring your own leaves around with you.
Yeah, do you have some palm leaves?
I should. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad you like it, because it's kind of, I cannot help it. Like it's either for kind of a street photography, like wedding not looking like a wedding work, or the creative portraits. We're always framing. Like it's kind of like we cannot help it, but we need to frame in a way that our brain kind of eases. Like the mind is like, okay, we got it. So it's what we're doing constantly. So also when we're creating something that is going to be interesting, I need to put a foreground for me to show you, okay, this is what I want you to look at. And the foreground has to be cool. It doesn't have, like, I don't want it to be just a blob. I want it to be something interesting, or part of the scene, or part of like something important for them. So that's kind of how our brain works these days.
Yeah. God damn, I keep looking through your portfolio. I'm like, I want to talk about that image. I want to talk about that image. So good.
We have to wrap up somewhere.
I know. I'm sorry.
In closing, do you have any book recommendations for our listeners?
Book recommendations. Oh, I have a bunch. Is it okay if I just send you some like a little list or something like that? But if you have a chance, like let's say like I could only talk about one book. It's a photography related book. There is this book by Sam Abel called The Life of Photograph. That book is a workshop on its own, and it's a lot about composition. Like Sam Abel is such an amazing photographer. We love them to death. All the documentary photographers love him, but his way of composing and teaching composition is just mind blowing. So if you have a chance to look at that book, The Life of a Photograph by Sam Abel, go take a look. It's pretty awesome. That would be my one recommendation. Then I have a bunch that I can send you the list. So if you want to just post it later, it will be awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
If listeners want more than that, then they can check the show notes.
Yep, absolutely. And if you're interested in the life of a photograph, you can get it on Amazon for £45, £50.
Well, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's not just
Yeah.
a book that you will read, but also look at the images and understand composition a lot. And it's not a book about composition, but just by reading his thoughts and the thought process while taking the photos, you will understand so much about it. So yeah, I recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes on Amazon you can click on the image and it'll show you a couple of pages. Not this book.
Oh, no.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery.
But I promise it's worth it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, go check that out. Support your local bookstores, obviously. Where can people find you online then in wrapping up?
Everywhere, all my social media handles are Citlalli Rico Photography. Citlalli is Citlalli, Rico Rico. And photography, I think we all know how to spell it. And yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I don't reply very quickly, especially not on Facebook Messenger. I freaking hate that thing. I don't know how to just kind of block it so people cannot reach out to me that way.
Yeah.
But I will reply on Instagram for sure, and you can find me with my email too, info@citlallirico.com. Here, Ben.
Awesome.
Another cat.
Another cat. And people can find us at perspectivebycinemate.com. Our Instagram is at perspectivebycinemate. Thank you very much, Pick Time, for sponsoring another episode of the podcast. We love you. And if you have loved this conversation or even just marginally liked it, hit subscribe. Sorry. Hit subscribe on our YouTube and wherever you get podcasts at Perspective by Cinemate, like I've said. And you can get us wherever you get podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, yeah, we're there. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. However,
In the meantime,
enjoy your life.